What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Christian LaBosco Podcast. Today I've got Martin on. Martin's grown to 1,250 followers and makes 3.5K a month on Twitter in just 75 days. I'm super excited to have him on as a guest for the second time. How are you today, Martin?
I'm amazing. It's kind of nice that we are having this on the last day of July, right? Because it's been like a crazy month for me and for a lot of other people as well. So I'm really excited to be here and to do this once again.
I'm super excited. It's amazing. We've been in a month since we had the pod, and there's so many other things to talk about now since you've already done so much. So, yeah, I'll get right into it. This is broad, but how did you land this many clients so fast?
Yeah. So I'm not sure what was my stage when I was last on. I think I was around like 500 followers, maybe a bit less, and
Yeah.
I was just getting my first client, I think, at that time. Um, so yeah, ever since I got like my first dollar, basically, I got like seven high ticket clients in like 33 days from that point. Um, Honestly, most of them just came to me, so it's not like I was doing a lot of like spamming emails or something like that. Literally, like 5 out of 7 clients that I got, it was almost exactly the same situation where like I make a post, they read the post, they like it, and then they just DM me saying that this is the best post they've seen all day or something like that, and I said something like thank you, right? And then right next message is them asking me about like if I have an offer, right? And then we just do a call
That's
and
crazy.
yeah. I mean, it's like if it happens once, it might be a coincidence, but I feel like if it happens like 5 times in like a month, then it's not really a coincidence, is it?
Do you like know if there's specific kind of content that you post that you seem to get those inbounds?
Yep, there's.
Are you allowed to share
Uh,
that, or is that like secret?
I'll share some of it. I'll share some of it. Uh, so I call them like inbound long forms, right? Uh, and it's basically like whenever you write like a valuable post, it's usually a longer post, right? Because you can't really fit that much value into like a shorter post. It can be video, right? But it can be a thread. It's usually long form for me. So I call them like inbound long forms, but it's usually whenever I talk about something that they've never seen someone else talk about, right? And it almost feels like I'm sharing paid knowledge just for free, right? In the content. Um, and I think that the effect this has, right? It makes people feel like holy shit, this guy just gave me something for free that I've never seen someone else mention before. So like how many other things like this must he know, right? Um, and so it creates this effect. At least that's the way I feel. Is that if the free content is good, like how good is the paid content going to be? I think you're muted.
I muted both things, muted my microphone and on the thing. I don't know if you remember this post you made, but it was something about having too many followers, and I think it was an authority long, like on how to uh,
It
solve
was
that
my
problem.
first client from that post.
Yeah, I was assuming something like that because it's like exactly what you said. It's like I've never heard someone talk about that, and you give a solution to this problem that's
Yep.
sort of plaguing a lot of people. So
Yeah, it's
it,
almost like you're not even aware of the problem, right? Because you've never seen someone mention it, and then like you get the solution for free basically from the post, and it makes you just think like how many other problems I have like that the guy can solve for me, right?
yeah, I think maybe this might be why you're grown so fast. Is that I think a lot of times when people read a post, they instantly go, I already know this. I've already heard this. Like, this is just another one of those posts. But I
Yep.
think you have this sort of X factor X Factor,
Uh,
where people will read like posts like that and they're like, I've never heard this, and it's a big problem that I'm facing, and I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, and I think another part of just this. I mean, I always say this. There's like you should make your post as unique as possible, right? It's like if you read something that you read 5 times during the day, you're gonna forget it in like 15 minutes, let alone like 2 hours. So like your goal with the post should be to make people remember it like when they're going to sleep that evening, right? And not like forget it in 15 minutes.
How do you go about finding these unique and novel, uh, maybe ideas, but also problems that are facing people?
Yeah, I mean, I think for a problem it's pretty easy, right? You just like ask yourself, okay, what things are people asking me, to help them with, or like what common mistakes do I see over and over again? Um, as for like the ideas, I mean, honestly, it's mostly just from the problems, right? Because those are the best types of posts anyway, which is like where you solve a problem for someone, because then you're giving value, and it's like kind of natural for people to want to give back, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you, like, in the beginning, you didn't have, did you, when you wrote that post, did you have people reaching out to you, like asking questions, like with problems they had? Or did you like come up with this idea of the too many followers just reflecting and like studying?
Yeah. Um, I mean, it was a while ago,
Yeah.
but I feel like with the 2 million followers thing, it was like at the time I was doing a lot of like just free consultations and stuff like that, just because like I had so much so much time at that point. I wasn't working with paying clients yet, right? So I just had the time to do free calls. Um, and I think it was mostly just like the mistake I kept, popping up over and over again. And it's like if you think about it, like if out of 5 people that you have calls with, right, that all came from your audience, if 3 of them, right, which is like 60%, if 60% of them has the same problem, then probably 60% of your 1,000 people audience, or whatever, is going to have the same problem as well. So it's almost like you're using it like the small sample size for like a market research or whatever you'd call it, which is again why I think that just like getting in touch with your audience and trying to help everyone is going to help you, especially early on.
How do you go about, like, what's your process if you had to start over, or what was the process you used to start getting on those market research calls and like doing free consulting, starting to understand the pain points of your audience?
Okay, so process for what? Like if I had to,
Like
what's the
getting,
goal?
like taking a follower and getting them on a research call so you can learn more about your audience's problem.
Um, I don't know. It's not like I was trying to force people, on calls or whatever, or like spamming them with, because I've seen some people do this where it's like they DM you, like if you could take 5 minutes to answer my questionnaire, it would really help me, right? But like you have to realize that, like, okay, this might sound like harsh or whatever, but like people are not thinking about you all day, right? And so it's like if you're gonna be sending out questionnaires like that, sure, some people might respond just because, I don't know, they feel the obligation or whatever, but um it's always better like to get this information like in exchange for some value that you're providing, right? So like uh someone asks you for help, then you just give them the help, and you use the call to find out problems. So it's almost like a win-win, instead of like digging out the information, right? I don't know, I just thought about this, right? Because today I got like a guy messaging me like like sending me question like, what are the three fears that keep you up at night, right? Or like, what are the top five things? And I'm like reading it, like, okay, no way, I'm gonna answer this, right? Like, you can be serious with this.
Yeah. I think there's like two problems with those things. One is they don't have any trust with you. And the second is, well, like you said, like you're not giving anything in exchange.
Yeah, and I think like the answers that you get are not going to be very very like true or real or whatever anyway, because uh, I don't know, maybe I'm just like cynical, but I feel like some people are just gonna fill them out to like seem like they're helping, just because they don't want to like refuse. uh but yeah, I don't know, it's just a bit weird to me.
Yeah. Do you like if you're doing a market research call or just like a quick call to help someone out, is there like something you're filling out like when you're on the call with pain points and things like that so you can reference them later, or do you just kind of remember them?
Nah, I'll just, I don't know, like have a paper nearby, and if something comes up I just write it down.
Well, you definitely have papers nearby. It's like all over your desk, so I
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
I guess that's not a problem.
You don't want to see how my desk looks like.
Yeah. So, this is so what are you teaching your clients? Like, not like you don't have to tell me like specifics of like the whole program, but is it like X growth? Are you teaching them like how to write threads or something? Like, what is exactly?
Yeah. I guess that X growth is like very generic, term to describe it. And I wouldn't say even it's growth, because anyone can grow, but that's not why we're here, right? Like, I'm teaching them how to build a business, basically, right? And everything that comes into that, which is like, deciding on what type of business they want to run, right? Like, branding themselves, and then once you're like branded, right, you need to know what target audience you want to attract, right? You need to know how to attract those people. You need to know what type of content to create, right? You need to understand like the fundamentals of X as a platform. You need to understand the fundamentals of just like catching attention. You need to understand fundamentals of writing. You need to understand how to write aesthetically. You need to understand how to write persuasively, right? You need to understand how to create an offer, how to get it in front of people, how to get leads, how to convert those leads, how to deliver for your clients so that you can get more, and so on. So it's I like to think of it as like the whole package, right?
Do you is it? I think you told me this, but it's like personalized to the person. So it's not like you have a one size fits all like program. This is what I'm giving everybody. It's personalized and catered depending on sort of their stage and also what their skills are.
Yeah, of course. Like, I think that it's the biggest advantage of any one-to-one type of offer, right? Or like mentorship is just the personalization, because like if you wanted one size fits solution, then like go buy a course, and it's probably
Yeah.
going to be cheaper, but also much less effective. And so I feel like, especially for beginners, just like the personalization aspect is completely priceless, because like you're literally having someone help you avoid like months and months of trial and error until you eventually maybe arrive at something that they can tell you in just 10 minutes, because it's so obvious to someone who is even like 2 months ahead of you in on the journey, right?
Yeah. It's sort of I don't know if you heard the concept of ignorance debt. I think I first heard it from Alex Ramosi, but it's exactly that is the one-on-one get doing one-on-one pays off the ignorance debt so much faster because they allow you to not make all these wrong turns specifically to you. Like a course probably helps you not make some of the wrong turns, but it can't help with as many as one-on-one since they're like
Yeah.
holding your hand.
Yeah, it's almost like you're buying time for the money, because like you're buying the time that it would take you to get all of these experiences and make all of these mistakes, and instead like you have this other person who already went through everything. And not only that, right, and this is like the beautiful thing, but right, if someone already worked with like, even like 5, 10 clients who were in the same exact spot as you, then they probably like saw their mistakes, and they like, you're not paying only for your mentor's mistake but for all the previous clients mistakes and experiences as well, right? So it's almost like you're getting this iterated version of the mentorship already.
Yeah. Um, for teaching your students, once you sort of get an understanding of where they're at in their phase, do you then create a program up front and then they work through it like week one of the program, week two, and then they come to the call for questions, or the calls like presentations through the that section of the program?
Yeah, so I mean, I do a bunch of stuff. um like we have one-on-one calls, we have like group calls, we have like, consultations through chat and everything. I think the like I've seen some of the people do the thing where like they create plan for the next month or whatever, and then they leave the client to it, right, and just have them ask the questions. um I feel like it's always nice to have a plan, but I feel like, the more personalized you can make things, and the more adaptive you can be to the situation, the better results are going to be, right? Which is why I always try to just have them focus on just next step, like just next week, right? Have like one priority to work on, and of course, like we're gonna have some overall strategy to look forward for the next like month or 3 months. But it's I feel like it's important to just stay adaptive and like um, take it step by step, because what can happen, right, is like you create a plan for the next month, and then after a week you realize that it's not working, but you like stubbornly stick to the plan or whatever, and then you just waste another 3 weeks, for example, posting content that is clearly not working, or like doing something that you absolutely realize that you hate doing, right? um I feel like it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think this is really good advice, especially for people who are newer to coaching.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, someone that's coached 50 people probably can sort of make a canned like program that can be for everybody, or at least a more accurate one. So that's something I'm definitely doing with my coaching, is like personalize. Like every week I kind of really look at it, and I it's almost like I do the brand coaching calls, so I look at their when they fill out the questionnaire and I personalize it based on that. It's almost like the program is just another step in that, because I get to know their problems much better. So I think it's almost, I think, a little arrogant to think that you,
Yeah.
like your first coaching program, you can just make it and set it and forget it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I absolutely like 100% agree. Is like I think unless you've gone through like dozens and maybe even like hundreds of people, like you have no right to like say that, okay, this is the best way, and nothing else works, right? And you just, if you want the best results for your clients, which I think you should always be your number one priority, and we can discuss this maybe later on. But I think that like just making it as personalized as possible, even if it means like more work for you, should always be the right way to do it.
So when you're selling to a client, is it like a case by case? Like, do you have an outline for a general thing and then you personalize it once they buy, or do you create like a personalized offer up front?
I try to create personalized offer whenever possible, right? Because I mean, if I feel like I can help the person and they're a good fit for the program, right? Then it's almost like, like, again, like I don't see a reason to try and force something on them, and it's rather like a dialogue, and you're trying to arrive at something that just works for everyone, and it's always has like client's best interest at heart.
Yeah. When you sell it, are you selling like the result? Like it's like you're going to create the personalized thing that's going to get a result for them? Like that's sort of how you frame it. Like if you're not having create the personalized thing, It's not like you have like a program you can just give them and go through. So it's like, I'm going to create the personalized program and work with you to this result, even if you don't have the personalized program made yet. Like, is that, I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could frame it that way. Yeah.
yeah. Are people coming to you? Like, do they want to do the same thing you're doing? Or are you getting like fitness coaches that want to know how to build their audience and direct them to a fitness offer?
Yeah, I'm getting people from different niches. Um, Fitness is one of them. Um, I like I don't want to reveal too much about
Yeah.
my clients because I feel like that's kind of disrespectful to them. But yeah, it's couple of different niches for sure.
What do you think are the biggest mistakes creators make when trying to monetize?
Yeah. I think the biggest mistake is as usual with like mindset, uh, and it's just that they think about ways to they think about, okay, how can I make money, right? How can I sell, instead of thinking about, okay, how can I help someone, how can I solve problems. And when you do that, you're thinking about, like you're trying to come up with these ways to like convince people to buy, or like to trick them into buying or whatever, but you're not focused on what actually matters, which is just like finding a problem and then solving it. And like once you focus on solving the problem and you find a way to convince people that you have the solution, like it's almost like logical, the only logical thing for them to buy from you, right? So I think that's the number one mistake, right? It's just thinking about how can I make more money instead of how can I solve more problems. And once you can solve problems, then the money like comes naturally, right? Because that's the way this like value exchange.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's two things that result from that. That's really useful for your business as well. Like when you focus on helping people, retention is usually better. When people are so focused on sales, they don't really care about actually getting result for the person. And then the other thing is your reputation. And I think you did a post about that, I think
Yeah, I
today.
did. Yeah, I did.
But yeah, I think I think Naval talks about that. Like accountability is one of the four things for success. I don't know if you've heard that, but it's like when you put your reputation on the line,
Hmm.
it's incredibly high leverage. Like you talked about how people were saying that they've heard about you and then they were going to reach out to you. So it's such a powerful leverage. Like if you can build your reputation early on, it's so powerful. Like the reputation that Dan Coe or Dakota Robertson has is incredible. It's like the first person people go to because of their reputation in the creator economy.
Yeah.
So yeah. What stage of the journey are your clients usually at? Like, are they like less than 500 followers, like don't know what a thread is? Or is it like what kind of stage are they coming to you?
Um, I'm having different kind of clients. I mean, at the beginning, most of them were beginners, right? Because obviously, that's like I I wasn't able to like attract the type of people that were already like close to 1K followers or whatever when I myself was around 500 and without any clients yet. So the first few clients were like complete beginners. Now I'm getting like a mix of advanced like creators who already know a lot about X in general, but they just struggle with monetization, and people who are just still beginners and just want to learn from the beginning. So I don't really, as I said, like I mean, I try to make it everything personalized for
Mhm.
everyone. So it's not like I'm gonna refuse someone because I know they're too beginner to work with, or like if I see a potential and if I feel like I can help them, then I'm gonna take them on.
Yeah. Do you ever think that there's like when you the target audience is beginners, often they don't have money to spend on what your service is worth? Like I don't that might not be a problem in the beginning because like getting your first client is so powerful for your next clients, but do you think that can become an issue if you're not
Yeah,
targeting people that are in a higher stage?
Yeah, it can. I think it depends on your prices, obviously, right, and what kind of products are you're selling, right. But I mean, obviously, it's always gonna happen when you're targeting beginners. Uh, but again, it all comes down to like what you're trying to achieve, right? Like if your only goal is to make money no matter what, then maybe you're not the best off just targeting audience. But if you care about like building your reputation for the long term or like building your brand, then I feel like it's completely viable strategy to just stick with the beginners for a while, at least until you're comfortable like moving on, right?
Yeah. Have you already done that transition from being able to serve beginners to being able to serve people that have more money and are more advanced?
I think getting there, right? But obviously, like it takes a while, right? Because the best thing you can have is client results, and I feel like I just haven't had enough time to prove that, right? So it's definitely gonna get time, but I'm not like worried about that. So yeah, as always, like the focus is just on getting results for like current clients, and then the transition and everything is going to happen eventually.
Yeah, two questions there. Like, how much do you spend weekly, like on your 7 clients?
Okay. Let me try and calculate that. I don't know. I would say like 30 hours maybe.
How long does a client usually like? Is there like a timeline usually that you plan to work with a client? Like 4 weeks, like 3 month programs? Like, is
Yeah,
it
I
varied?
think again it comes down to personalization, right? It's
Mhm.
like if someone comes to me and they have no idea how X works, right? I'm not gonna promise them to, get them their first client in like 30 days or whatever, because they're just unrealistic. And I feel like it's also bad for your business if you get your clients like thinking just short term gains instead of like long term strategy. So I always prefer getting them to think long term. But then again, if someone already has all the basics and they just need like like little tweaks, right? And I'm confident that I'm gonna be able to help them in like 2 months. Then there is no reason to like force them to stay on for like 3 months or whatever. So I think again, it all comes down to personalization and just having your client's best interest at heart when you're like designing the offer for them.
What do you think, like, trying to think long term, reframing, trying to land clients as building an authoritative brand? Because that's what you did basically, and clients were a byproduct of that.
Yeah. Um, I think that especially when you consider like long term scaling, uh, it's like very very difficult to scale your business without being able to retain most of your clients, right? Because then you're like almost in the constant cycle where like every month you have to get
You need to
clients
find, yeah.
from the beginning, right? And need to again be focusing on the selling, because you're not able to like deliver them results and have them come on their own. So I feel like if you think about it from this perspective, then it just makes sense to be thinking long term from the beginning.
Yeah. Um, have you like turned down any people that have wanted to be clients with you because like it is not a good fit? And do you think that that's a good sort of thing to do, is being very selective with the people you take on? Because I think that goes back to, are you focused on sales or you're focused on being able to help the person? Because if you're just focused on sales, then you'll get them even if you can't really help them.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I actually had, but it was like when it was obvious that like the person is looking for something completely different than I'm offering, right? then like I'm not gonna like try to convince them that, this is not what you need. Actually, what you need is my thing, right? Like
Yeah.
if they want something completely different, then it's fine. So yeah, it happened. And I think it's completely valid thing and right thing to do, right? Because first of all, like your focus should be on helping, right? And second of all, like you're helping yourself, because sure, it might get you some short-term money, but in the long run, like it's gonna be pain in the ass to work with someone like that, probably. And it's gonna leave bad taste for everyone if they don't get the results. Then they blame you. It might make you feel bad about it. It might leave like a bad review. It might hurt your reputation if they tell someone and shit like that. So I think
Mhm.
for sure.
Um, in a recent post, you outlined 6 steps about how you're going to scale to 10K a month in the next 60 days. Do you
Yeah.
think you could go more into those steps and your plan for that? And if maybe that's evolved since you posted that?
Yeah, it had evolved a lot. um First of all, I feel like the 10K goal is no longer that important to me. And it comes down to the like rebrand and like the mentorship that I've had recently, which is just not be focused on trying to get as much money as fast as possible, and instead of focus on really like building the long term thing. Um. So yeah, the like the next steps that I'm planning is like I'm gonna do rebrand. I'm gonna like change the profile photo, banner, all these things. Uh, but mostly just the type of content that I'm gonna be posting from now on is going to be a bit different than it was for the last couple of weeks, and my focus is going to kind of shift as well.
Hmm. That makes a lot of yeah. It reminds me of this concept from Alex Ramosi that like the fastest way to 100K a month isn't necessarily the fastest to 10K. So like if you rush to 10K, you might not have a foundation that allows you to actually scale beyond that because you're so focused on like just getting to that like quick money. So
Yeah,
it sounds like you're planning for the long term, building the foundation of like case studies, testimonies, really honing your skills with coaching and things like that.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
admire
Because
that.
I felt that it was kind of hurting me, just trying to make money as fast as I possibly could, and like the money that I made this month, right? Like if I'm able to make that money, even if I stay stagnated for the next 6 months, like I'm good, right? Like I have enough to survive to cover my needs. So it's not like I'm in a rush to make the money to, I don't know, pay my debts or whatever in the next 6 months, or else I'm gonna you know
Yeah. Yeah, I admire that. I think it's easy, especially when you're sort of an ex growth coach, to fall into the I'm going to try to make as much money as possible,
Yep.
as fast as possible. Yeah, you see that a lot. How do you think you differentiate yourself from other ex growth coaches?
uh uh I mean, I do my best to do whatever I can, right? Because the market is just so oversaturated, I feel like. uh hmm. I'm not sure how deep we want to go into this actually, but
I'm happy to go as deep as you want because this is one
yeah,
that
no,
I
I'm I'm
find
I'm I'm just,
interesting.
I'm just thinking, like how controversial we want to get with this.
I mean, I think this is probably most interesting to me because the fact that you've been able to differentiate yourself this fast to get clients, that means that you've found a way to be different. And I think because
Yeah.
most people come and they fall to X growth and they struggle. So I think this is I
Okay.
really would like to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay. I'm gonna give my take on X growth coaching, right? I think what's happening is that people, a lot of, okay, I'm not saying everyone, right? But I have a feeling that a lot of people who are doing the growth thing, or like even the monetization thing, they're not using their own like ideas and systems and like teachings and whatever. They're literally just like taking what they learned from their mentor, and they're teaching it, like they basically like moving it, down um, the ladder without adding anything of their own, right? Uh,
Pyramid scheme.
yeah, I mean, you might say it's a pyramid scheme, but I feel like the problem is kind of different, which is just like the lack of improvement and originality and whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so what happens is like if something is not very good or like not ideal, right, then it just gets like propagated down and down, and everybody ends up with like horrible results because nobody is able to deliver and nobody ever improves it. And so like if you're asking, why what I'm doing to be different, I would say that this is the main thing. Like I always try to, even if I learn something from somebody else, like I always try to make it better before I teach it to somebody else. Like I very rarely take something for what it is and just like um pass it forward, right? Like I always try to take on, either if it's just like taking the most important parts, or like making it better, or like better for our current situation, uh and coming up with own systems, own ideas. So yeah, that's what I would say that I try to do to make myself different.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think sort of like what you're saying is people aren't iterating on what they're learning. They're not,
Yeah,
it's almost like they're not even testing it, because if they tested it, they would see that it didn't work. So it's almost, it's like you're teaching people how to do something. I don't know. It's an interesting business model, I'll also say, is like the way that you go about it. It's like you're handing down information, except it's just the information from the person at the top of the whole thing.
yeah,
So it's
and
nothing
it's
unique.
like, yeah, and it's like the information is not the valuable part anyway. It's about how can you personalize the information for like the current situation of the person, right? But when it's just like you take something that you've learned from someone who learned it from somebody else, and you take it as like the truth, the one and only truth, and you never question it, then it becomes problem, I think, right? Because it's not going to be the truth for every single one of your clients, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like you're focusing on making money rather than building a skill set,
Yep.
because you don't, it's like you have like a way to make money, like a formula that works for a specific group of people, rather than building a skill set that can help more people based on different problems that they have in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you nailed it down, like the formula, because like you can, and it's kind of funny, right? Because it's exactly the same thing with like content and the algorithm, which is like you might have a certain formula that works, right, and then you have everyone repeating it. But as soon as
Yeah.
like the algorithm changes or whatever, uh, because you don't understand the fundamentals and you only learn like the formula, right, you're not going to be able to adapt to the situation, and suddenly your content is not performing. And so I think the same can happen with like clients. If you're acquiring them through like a formula that you learn from like your coach, and suddenly like the situation changes or whatever, you're not gonna be able to adapt because you don't understand like the fundamentals, which I think is the most important part for like long term success anyway.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest mistake that people make from learning from big creators. Like if you take Dan Coe, they're taking sort of the stuff he's doing on the outside and not taking the principles like
Yeah,
that he's been using since he started. And a lot of those principles work really well. And like Dakota Robertson, he has the what, why, how framework. Like that's a principle that works well. You can use that, and it has so many variations. It's not such a template where it's like when someone's using it like insane. Like what, why, how is a little more broad. So I think it's taking those principles, those bigger principles, and being able to apply it and make your own tactics from the principles.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, you see this with like content all the time, right? It's like someone just blatantly steals or like copy pastes a post, uh, and they expect it to perform as well. And even if it does, like you didn't learn anything, right? You just like took something and used it as your own. And instead, if you took your time to like analyze it and understand why it happened, you would have actually like improved your skill, and maybe then you can do those kind of posts on your own without taking them from other people. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a theme in other areas of life where everyone wants to look like smart and look like they are this thing rather than actually having the thing behind the scenes. Like you can write a viral post by copying, say that that's possible, but do you actually know how it went viral or why it went viral? So I think that's like people always or most often try to take the quick route to success.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um, so since you're not trying to scale to 10K, what is your sort of plan for the next like couple months?
Um, I think, I mean, number one priority, of course, is just getting client results, right? Because that, like, not only, of course, like accomplishes what I want to do, right? Which is just help people, but it also, like, from the selfish perspective, is the best thing you can do as well. Because it is one thing having results for yourself; it's completely other thing having results for other people. So I think, to gain trust of your potential buyers, that the best thing you can do is obviously like have social proof. So that's gonna be number one priority, and then it's gonna be just I guess I'd like to create some kind of offer for complete beginners as well, or like for people who can't really afford like high ticket coaching. I have a couple of ideas in mind, but so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's another thing that I've been thinking about, is like it would be nice to create something for the beginners, because I feel like they're very often like forgotten, and there's this jump where just everybody's selling kind of high ticket, and maybe there's a couple of like courses that are like very generic, but there's not that much low ticket X specific stuff. At least I wasn't able to find that much.
Yeah, I just had this thought that like the principles that you learn from other creators like are sort of timeless, but the tactics that they may have derived from those principles maybe worked in a different X environment. So like you're thinking of creating maybe a course with tactics that work in this current X environment.
Yeah, because like every time I try to do some research, on YouTube or whatever, and whenever you look at like popular videos on how to grow on Twitter, right? Because it's not even called X, right? Because they're all like 1 year old,
Yeah.
and I already know that it's not gonna work, right? Because like the environment constantly changes, so like you might get something out of it, but not not as much as you could do from something that is recent. So yeah, those are like some of the thoughts that I've been having
Yeah,
in
it
the
makes a lot
next
of
months.
sense.
I'm gonna work on that.
Yeah, I think maybe the part of the reason that you've had so much success is because you've been able to derive tactics from these principles in the current X environment, and that takes a lot of study and analyzing rather than taking canned tactics that aren't actually relevant to the
Yep.
current environment. Do you because like if you created a course for the current X environment, maybe it's relevant for like 2 months. How would you go about that if like since the environment's constantly changing, would you maybe create a community where like
Yeah,
you
that's
create new
it's a very
iterations?
good, very good question that I haven't yet been able to solve. So I mean, I don't want to give away too much, right? I just want to say that like I'm working on some stuff for a low ticket as well, uh, and I'll try to like come up with a solution that is not going to be like obsolete in 2 months, right? Obviously,
Yep.
which is why I'm always like uh, against the templates, or like viral templates and shit like that, and I would rather focus on teaching the fundamentals and the skills, right?
Yeah. It's like learn psychology and then learn how to apply it
Yep.
specifically to the tactics. Yeah. It's a lot more work for sure
Yeah,
than just taking a viral template, but
but
it's
it's more rewarding, right?
sustainable.
Yep.
Yeah. You'll outlast your competition if you really yeah, this actually I feel like I've never heard some people talk about this aspect of like the principles versus tactics. And I think that maybe is just why your success has been so great, is because you've been able to derive tactics that work in the current environment from the fundamental principles. So it's it definitely is a problem since it changes so much. Not even maybe the algorithm, but just like viral threads. This is Andrew Huberman. Like the algorithm probably doesn't change on those, but people just get tired of them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? Like if at the point where you are copying something popular, right? Like you must be aware of the fact that 100 of other people have already copied it before you, right? Like you're not the first one to get this like genius idea of I'm gonna do the same thing. uh, and you see this, like, I mean, I was doing YouTube for 15 months, right, before coming to X. So when you're on YouTube, you see this all the time. It's just like one video blows up, and then suddenly like 20 different people make the video with like literally same title, same style of thumbnail, and it's like, the first copycat gets maybe 50% of the success of the first video, right? Then the second copycat gets maybe like 20% of the success, and then all the others get like 10% of the original video success. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm exaggerating a bit here, right? But it's kind of how it goes.
yeah. Have you heard of like the idea of specific knowledge from Naval?
D- Maybe we discussed it last time, right? Or I'm not sure, but
Maybe.
it's like knowledge that is tied up to your personal experience, so that nobody else can like replicate
Yeah,
it, something
or
like
like
that.
yeah, like specific knowledge in a domain, sort of like I think this is basically it. It's like it's something that you can get through mentorship. Like if school can train everyone to do the same thing, that's not specific knowledge, but like a mentorship is personalized.
Yeah, so it's like apprenticeship versus university or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. Or and like you actually going into like the battlefield and trying an error because it's your process. But
Yeah,
what I was
that
gonna
makes
say is
sense.
I think when you have that specific knowledge in an area, like say Twitter, you're able to notice the trends faster, and also like you can notice the trends faster. So you, like you said, the first person that copies gets 80% of the results. And then also because you have specific knowledge, you're able to add a twist so it's not the same.
Yeah.
And people who don't have specific knowledge will like hop on the trend 3 months late. And then that's you just missed out on the opportunity. So I definitely think it's about putting in the work and not trying to find the quick solution.
Yeah. Maybe one last thing I would add to that, right, is that never ever, okay, maybe not never ever, but uh, very rarely does the thing happen where like the copycat's video or like a post or whatever gets more success than the original one. So like the only way to really like be the one that others are gonna start copying is to like stop copying others, right, and start innovating yourself.
Yeah. Um, so going back to sort of your goal for the next couple months. So like so is maybe so like rebrand and then figuring out a way to create um to educate beginners that doesn't become outdated in a short period of time. Those are sort of like the two broad goals, and delivering results for your
Yeah,
current
no,
clients.
no. I mean, delivering results for current clients is always going to be number one. And yeah, I guess just like work on like long term foundations of business rather than just trying to chase money fast.
Yeah. I love that. How do you I don't know if you've done this yet. Well, how do you or how do you plan to leverage the results you get for a client to get more clients, like case studies and things like that?
What do you mean? Like, how do I plan to leverage that?
Like, if you get a good result for a client, how are you going to use those results you've gotten in order to get more clients? Like, do you have an idea of how you're doing that? Like, style of post, like a case study, testimony?
I mean, I guess there's like so much stuff that you can do that I think like the actual execution of it is not as important as just the fact that
You got the
you
results.
make people aware. Yeah, yeah. And it's almost like you want to get to the stage where like you're able to say that, like, there's difference between saying that, like, I got my client, like, I scaled my client to 2K per month in like 2 days from zero, right? Or like to 10K from 5K, right? In 3 months or something like that. And it's different thing to say like, this guy is my client, right? Or like used to be my client, and I took him to where he is, and he's thankful for that, right? So I that's kind of the goal of what I'm going for, is like trying to to get my clients into the state where like they're recognized in their own niche, right? And then I can say that like, okay, this is who I work with, right? It's gonna
Mm,
take time, obviously, but it's
wow,
like
that's really
ideal
smart.
ideal
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah. And then eventually you'll just start working with those people that are known because like first you have to lead people to being known and then the people that are already known reach out to you. And then
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like
obviously, like obviously, like the dream scenario, right, is where like you are able to get so good results that you are able to like handpick the people that you're working with, and then it almost like becomes a snowball where, because you are perceived as one of the best options there is, right? You are able to choose the best clients to work with, and because they're the best clients, you're able to get them the best results, and it just goes further and further.
yeah. I think that again goes back to like the idea specific knowledge. I think Naval gives this example where like it's called like building your own luck where it's like if someone found treasure underwater and you're the best underwater scuba diver in the world, like your reputation, by their luck of finding it, they're going to reach out to you and you're going to make money. So it's like by someone being successful and because you're so good in this area, they're going to reach out to you and you get the byproduct of their success because your reputation and
Yeah,
specific knowledge.
yeah. Sounds like oddly specific example, but I guess it
Yeah,
works.
that's his
Yeah,
example. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, if someone wanted to monetize as quickly as possible, or I don't know. I feel like everything where you try to say quickly or fast can be dangerous, but let's say that. What would be the roadmap you would give them?
Yeah. Um, I was thinking about this, right, because I think I had call with one of my clients recently. Um, it depends on how specific you wanna get, right? But I would say that like in general, right? Like if you wanted, like, you wanted to make money as fast as possible, I would say just like take a skill that, or like pick a skill that a lot of people are looking to learn, right? Where there's like a lot of beginners to teach. Then learn how to grow on X, because I think that's the best platform to start on and the fastest one, right? Like you're not gonna grow fast on YouTube, for example. Um, so learn how to grow on X, which is like, branding, writing, basics of content creation, and then just monetize as fast as possible, right? By teaching the skill, and using the fact that, that there are so many beginners to teach, and just start monetizing low ticket, and slowly like build up your prices and your everything, right? So like if you're asking how to monetize as fast as possible, then this is what I would do. If you're asking about how to make certain amount of money as fast as possible, then the answer is probably something different, right? It's probably to just spam cold outreach until it works, and then just get someone on like a sales call, and convert them. But I think it's not the best thing long term anyway.
If you are like, this is a tough question, but if you're going about like building a personal brand in the most long term, probably the best way, and that's kind of hard to quantify, like, what is like the approach you would take? Like, because I know maybe you try to get followers really fast and that hurts you in the long run. Like, what are you, should you, or do you think you should focus on? Like, is that authority? Like, how do you build a foundation for your personal brand that lasts a long time and you're able to make money? Or how are you going about that?
I think like the ambiguity of the question isn't in term of like doing it in the best way. It's more in the term of like personal brand, right? Um, because your personal brand is not equal to your business, at least the way I see it. So like if you're asking about personal brand, I would say the best way to doing long term is like having really clear vision of like your huge amazing goal that you're trying to achieve in like 10 years, and making everything aligned with the vision that you're heading towards, right? I would say that's the best long term play you can make, right? Because then all of your decisions for the next couple of years, right, are going to be aligned with that vision, and like your audience can see the vision, from day one, and they can um you can like lead them towards it, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that's a very good answer, but
That
if
sounds
you're asking about personal brands, then yeah.
yeah, it sounds a lot like I think Danko's sort of philosophy is leading people towards the big goal in your content. Yeah. I guess maybe I think this is, I've phrasing it better, is building a foundation for your personal brand business. Like I don't, maybe a holistic approach to building a personal brand that allows you to build a business, but it doesn't sacrifice, like, it's not about getting money as quick as possible. It's about sustainability for the long term, building a business with your personal brand,
Yeah,
like how you'd go about that.
I think honestly it's reputation, right? um like again, I made a it's kind of funny that it's today that I made a post about it, like 10-minute video. But I'm just gonna repeat the story because I think it's very instructional for the people who are still watching after an hour. uh so couple of weeks ago, I had a guy like DM me, and he was asking about like, if I could have a look at his profile, right, to give him some advice. And I was like, sure. I gave him some advice. Then we talked a bit on the DMs, and then I was like, let's do a call, right? He was complete beginner to X. He was there for like 3 days or something like that. And on the call, right, I'm asking him like, okay, how are you finding X so far? And he's like, it's amazing. Like I'm meeting so many new people, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, what are you, like talking to them about and something like that? And he says that it's funny, right? Because so many of them have mentioned you and told me to like reach out to you. And then I'm like sitting there, and I realized that, holy shit, like this is amazing, right? Because this guy who I've never met before in my life, right, had other strangers who I've probably never spoken to, at least face to face in my life, tell him about me, right? And then it's at that point is like almost free marketing, right? Because just by the power of your reputation, you are having other people tell strangers good stuff about you, right? And it's like infinitely scalable as well. uh which is why I feel like just your reputation is the most powerful, like long term thing you have.
What would be your process you would give someone to build their reputation? And maybe I don't know if it's applicable to like different niches, but
Yeah, I think it is. I would say start with like just getting really clear on what you want to be known for, right? And what you want your reputation to be, basically, because it's not like there is only one good reputation or whatever, right? Like you can be known as the guy that's like friendly to everyone, right? And he's fun to be around, and he always motivates people and lifts up the mood or whatever. You can be the guy that maybe he's not like too friendly or too funny or whatever, but he just gets the results no matter what, right? He just always over delivers. You can be the guy that might be sometimes pain in the ass or whatever. Maybe some people don't like him, but when he's on your good side, he's like the best friend for forever, and he's gonna fight until death for you, right? And I mean, there's a lot of other examples I could give probably, but the reputation should be like fitted towards your personality, right, and your strong suits, right, and shit like that. And then I really think that it's like worth taking your time and thinking about what you want your reputation to be, and then just align everything you do with that reputation, right? So like every interaction that you have, um, and it should come natural to as well, right? Because this can be like faked long term. So that's why it's so important to pick something that is in alignment with who you are as a person. And basically then just like everything you do, right, every piece of content or like every interaction that you have with someone, just have it aligned with with that reputation, and eventually it's like people start noticing, right, and it's gonna build up, and then you just have to not fuck it up basically for the rest of your life, because it takes years or months to build a reputation, but you can lose it in a couple of seconds. So just have
Yeah.
to be careful.
Yeah. And if you do mess it up, I guess the best thing to do is to own it and
Yeah,
be humble. Don't try to lie about it.
yeah,
Yeah. Is there anything you're experimenting with right now with your brand? Any like posting or like direction, things like that? I guess maybe this rebrand is part of that, but
yeah. So rebrand is a big thing. I'm not sure if it's like an experiment, because like I'm pretty clear on what I'm gonna do. uh I had some ideas about interesting content that I could make. I, I'm not sure when this podcast is going to be published. uh
probably in 3 weeks, I'd say.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, you have time.
Maybe I can mention it then.
Yeah.
I really wanted to look into live streaming on X, because I've been seeing a lot of people do spaces, uh, but I personally kind of hate them because it's just so weird, like listening to people without seeing them. And okay, maybe listening is fine, but just like talking to people without seeing them is just a bit weird. And a couple of years ago, right, in my past life, I was making a bit of money live streaming video games on Twitch, right? So I think it could be a really nice like throwback to try live streaming on X, and basically live streaming, teaching people how to make money. And I feel like it could be like, first of all, it would be unique, and second of all, like it also like gives some value to beginners and like to people for free, and it also like stands out, builds a reputation and everything. So I'm gonna look into that, and if I have time, like maybe one live stream per week, where it's just like me sitting there and answering all of the questions that I get. Is almost like a group coaching to everyone who comes for free. It could be a nice thing. I'm
Yeah.
actually I'm gonna do it, because I've been thinking about it for like a long time. I guess now that I said, I kind of have to do it. So
Yeah. And
maybe
so
I'll try to start next week or something like that.
and so funny because I hosted my first space with Vigo last week, and I talked to him about like what if there's live streaming on Twitter and what that would be, because I used to not really watch Twitch, but like knew of it, and I feel like that there's not a lot of innovation with spaces right now. Like there's no giveaways. This is the best way to do spaces or anything like that. So it seems like an untapped thing right now. Only thing I've noticed, that I hope isn't a problem for you, is it seems that it's a little more laggy when there's video, like camera. So Elon's got to get on working on the spaces software. But yeah,
Wait, you can do like spaces with video, or I
yeah, you
thought
can do
it's
spaces.
like separate things, like live stream and spaces with like
I don't think
are
so.
two.
I think you can create a space, then have video, and you can have people. I I didn't know there was a live stream. I was thinking you do space with your video on, and then people can talk to you.
No. I thought there's like live stream feature where it's almost like you set up OBS and everything like on Twitch. I don't know. I'd have to look into it.
There
I
might
think
be.
it's worth exploring for sure.
Yeah, it seems like an untapped feature of Twitter. I think the other maybe untapped feature is articles. I feel like I don't really see anyone doing that.
I had someone ask me about them, and I had to admit that I have no idea how articles work, right? Because I haven't seen anyone do them, so I just assume that they don't work. But it's pretty lazy approach now that I think about it.
Well, you're pretty dialed in a lot of other things, so
Yeah, yeah.
give yourself a little, uh, I guess, grace. Not be so hard on yourself on that. uh, what would you say have been your biggest lessons you've learned from this month since
Ooh.
our last pod? I mean, it doesn't have to be like exact because I don't even know really when that was. I think end of June.
I think the biggest lesson, single biggest lesson, is that like at the stage that I'm in currently, right? And I feel like everyone who is like working without like a huge team or like across multiple social media or whatever. Uh, if something is not going well, right, then you are always like the bottleneck, right? So it's not like the algorithm's fault or the universe's fault, or you're just getting unlucky, or like your client's fault. It's like always your fault. And what I mean by this is like there's always something that you could be doing better that is gonna get you better results, right? And usually like the biggest reason why you're not succeeding currently is because there's a skill that you need to work on that you've been like neglecting, or maybe you just haven't been putting it as much work as you should in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I do think that is. It's almost like it sounds a little harsh, but then it's like empowering because it means that you have
Yeah,
complete control over what the results are.
i i
Not
I
the
think
results, but what you do.
yeah, I
And
think I made a post about this as well, which is like, like I realized that if you're not growing, it's not the fault of the algorithm, audience, whatever. It's like your skills, your mindset, your knowledge. And there's like two types of people when reading this post, right? Like person A is going to say like, oh no, I'm the one in control. And then person B is going to say like, hell yes, I'm the one in control. So it's just you know
mhm.
uh, for me it's the best news ever, because it means that like I am 100% responsible for my success, which means that I don't have to rely on anyone else, on like the outside factors.
Yeah,
And it's the best thing there is, right? But if you're someone who likes to blame other people, then I guess it's bad news.
yeah. It kind of reminds me of like board games, like chess is like if you lose, it's completely your fault, or there's like luck based games.
Yeah,
And while chess, like when you lose, it's a little brutal because it's like you can't literally cannot blame anybody because if you lost, it's because you made a wrong move. Even if that move was like you didn't realize it was wrong until like 8 moves in advance. But I do think those are the games I like. I get more frustrated, I think, by luck based games because I have no control over anything than um, games where I have control. Even though like it's harder on yourself because you're like, I really did mess up. It's like, well, I guess I can do better. In luck based games, it's like whatever. I can't really control anything. It's just annoying.
I mean, there's a lot we could discuss there, because I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this too, but like I used to make money playing video games, card video games with where there was a lot of luck. I mean, I hate saying luck because I think the luck
Yeah,
doesn't
I
really
think there's
doesn't really exist in my opinion. So I would say it's probability. Uh, so I think I have very like different view on luck and like getting frustrated. But I completely agree that like games where you can control everything just feel so much more rewarding when you win as well, right?
Yeah, I think there's like a spectrum, like games that are literally completely luck versus like poker, or I don't know if you ever played Catan, where there's a lot of strategy behind it, but and you're almost like playing the strategy to try to be as lucky as possible. Like that's like sort of an approach you have, but there's a lot of it's like a spectrum. Like
Yeah, I
chess is
mean,
like 100% skill. Poker, probably would say is like 70-80% skill because I think because you can win even if you got unlucky. So
nah, I mean, I would say that poker is all skill as well, because like long term, you're not gonna win, uh, just based on getting lucky. And yeah, I mean, okay, I don't want to take this like discussion too far away from like making money on X, but I feel like that there's like a difference between just accepting luck as some force that you cannot do anything with, right? And realizing that it's not really luck, it's just like a probability and you have to play into it. And like if you're doing the example of the poker, right? Like if you made the best decision given like your current situation, and it turned out to not work out for you, right? But if you repeat the same decision 100 times and it's going to work out for you 90 times out of those 100, right? Then at the end of the day, like you're going to come out ahead. So I think that that's a better way to think about luck, right?
yeah, it's like how much I think it's like the luck factors based on how much of your skill can affect the probability of the outcome.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it, for sure.
Yeah. Um, how's your first month been going with writing the newsletter?
Yeah, uh, it's been going great. I think I'm close to 400 subs, like 395, something like that. For the past couple of days, I haven't been sending any emails because I'm working on reworking the newsletter as well. I'm gonna be moving it towards like daily emails. So I've been doing 4 times per week until now, and I'm gonna really try to nail it down and just do daily, because I think again, like from the long term perspective, just like building a relationship with your newsletter and getting really good at writing emails is a incredibly valuable skill. And yeah, my goal is to just, as with a lot of the stuff that I try to do, just be different than what other people are doing, because I feel like 90% of newsletters that I'm subscribed to are just selling me in every single email. I mean, it's not the problem if someone is selling, right? The problem is if there's like clearly the only purpose of the email, right? And they're not giving any value whatsoever, or if they're like trying to disguise it as a value. So I'll try to make my newsletter more like value oriented, and if I do mention something, it's just like there, and I'm not like forcing the sale. And yeah, like the goal is obviously to like have the newsletter, like have someone say that this is my favorite newsletter, right? Like I'm subscribed to 20 newsletters, and yours is the best one. And I've been getting some positive feedback so far, so I'm hoping for more of that in the future.
Yeah. Um, two questions or two thoughts, I guess. One's a question. One thought, I feel like I always thought like emails are for selling and newsletters is for value. And that's sort of the way I thought about it initially when I went into it. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but that's sort of how I went into it, is that emails are like direct response marketing, and then
Mm.
the newsletters are sort of, you could, if you're trying to sell in the newsletter, it's sort of like a sales page, but you're giving tons of value and it's like links throughout. That's how Dan Coe does it. Like you read his newsletter, he has like a hyperlink to like something, but it's like 90% value, 10% selling.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's almost like you're giving all this value, like teaching, and then at the end you're like, you know if you want to take this step further or whatever, I do have this offer for you, right? And if not, that at least I gave you a lot of value. So
Yeah.
I think like that's the perfect way to do it, and is what I enjoyed as a consumer, so that's what I'm going to try to do as like a creator.
Do you do your emails play into your content at all? Like you write an email that's your long form. Like is there a way, or does it have to be like everything for Twitter is separate from your emails? Because it seems
um
like a lot of ideas to have. and
Yeah,
expand on it.
it's been pretty separate so far. But obviously, I'm still like learning, right? Because I've only been for like 2.5 months on this journey, so it's not like I have it all figured out. Um, but it's very different. Like the not only like the writing style, but also like the topics that you can discuss in the newsletter and in the on the X, right? Because like X is social media, and newsletter is almost like you're having like personal conversation with the reader, so you do have to approach it completely differently.
Yeah. Well, as we come to the end, if you could have the audience only take one thing away after listening, what would it be?
One thing away, yeah. I don't know. I would say okay. I probably can say it already, right? Because if this is going to be up in like 3 weeks, then my rebrand is going to be done, right? Uh,
Hmm.
so my new brand is going to be like attract clients like a winner, and the motto is going to be like be yourself and be different and be better. So I think those three things, right? They're just like
Yep.
stay true to who you are, to your values, and don't copy other people. Be different from what the other people are doing, and you are gonna stand out. And just like make better
Be
content,
better.
like give better advice, get better results for our clients, and you're gonna make money.
Yeah.
It's I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple, I think.
I think that's the same one you gave on the first one. So it
Yeah,
seems like
yeah.
that's the biggest one.
I, I think it might have given me the idea, on the first one. It just took like a month to crystallize it.
Yeah. That's awesome. This was a great podcast. Anyone wanting to land clients definitely should listen to it. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.